So I'd like to welcome you all to the closing ceremonies of the Sustainable and Inclusive Internationalization Virtual Conference. And it's my great pleasure to invite Professor Charles Hopkins, the York UNESCO Chair in Reorienting Education Towards Sustainability, to share some highlights from the three-day conference and provide some general feedback on the draft Toronto 2021 declaration received from participants. Professor Hopkins.
Thank you very much for this opportunity for a few closing remarks and the adoption of the Toronto Declaration. First of all, thanks to all for taking the time and energy to attend and to contribute throughout this virtual event. As we all know how busy our new home office world has become. I feel this conference has successfully brought together two large academic communities for the first time in a global setting, and we have found commonality in the conference theme of addressing internationalization in the context of sustainability, inclusivity, and innovation. Together, we agree that higher education has a major role to play in seeking a more sustainable future. And sustainability is a concept, and the Sustainable Development Goals is the current implementation plan from 2015 to 2030, are of utmost importance to higher education itself, and no longer the issue of any one faculty or discipline, but rather it's the concern of all. When we look at the language in the Sustainable Development Goal, and particularly the target of 4.7, it states, by 2030, ensure all learners acquire knowledge and skills needed to promote sustainable development, including and through education for sustainable development, human rights, gender equality, promotion of a culture of peace and nonviolence, global citizenship, and appreciation of cultural diversity and of culture's contribution to sustainable development. We certainly see the role of internationalization, especially in collaboration with other faculties and departments in this particular target. The importance of this target is reflected in the recent introduction by the United Nations General Assembly, overall UN, of an International Day for Education. It's coming up this Sunday. And this day is focused on pursuing peace and sustainable development. But we know inter and multidisciplinary connection is not easy. In fact, we actually found it hard to get speakers to take this virtual stage and address these conference themes as a collective. Each had their own perspective, but trying to address it in the collective was very difficult. And we know our own institutional settings may also prove difficult. Overall, it was widely accepted in the sessions and chats that globally minded, informed graduates, as called for in 4.7, are furthered from participating in internationalization efforts. The blend during our time of theoretical inquiry asking why internationalization in higher education was balanced with practical and innovative answers to how practice can be re-envisioned, adapted to better serve students and our communities. And I feel the conference has helped to further both the aspects of the why and the how. The conference clearly brought to light that we all see the opportunity for virtual mobility as augmenting, but not as a replacement for physical mobility. And the conference itself has shown us these advantages, especially of virtual connectivity, certainly around the concept of inclusivity. Many who would not, who normally would not be able to afford the travel, the accommodation, registration fees, etc., got to listen to many of the best speakers and frontline practitioners to be found from the four corners of the world. Equally, and it's important, the speakers got to hear perspectives and diverse voices from those they would never meet at international conferences. So thank you everyone for your active participation, your time and your energy. You've made this conference a success beyond our expectations. So regarding the Toronto Declaration, would the team please post the declaration on the screen and let it roll? Let me begin with a special thanks to those who took the time to send us their remarks on the declaration. We're extremely happy about such positive and constructive feedback on the draft documentation. The declaration highlights today's role, current challenges, and opportunities of internationalization, but with a path forward on how to create a new vision of internationalization with a focus on mobility beyond just physical, with accompanying potential themes and activities. All this to help higher education to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals as our global framework of action. As you see in the final Toronto Declaration text being shown, very few changes to the draft were really necessary. After having shared a document with 700 registered participants, I believe this is a major achievement. And our thanks to Catherine Cole, who drafted the original document and shepherded it through the entire process. Also, our thanks to the academic committee for their detailed review. So quickly, I'd just like to highlight that we received some additional thematic suggestions and that we could integrate all into the document. These comments covered adding continuous reflection of the role of internationalization. We added the phenomena of misinformation and alternative facts as a challenge of our current era, and a commitment to higher education to fact-based knowledge. We added the aspect of accessible materials and open education resources. We added the private sector as a partner in mobility programs. And finally, adding concrete descriptors to the future leaders we are hoping for, such as compassion and responsibility. While not all of today's students become leaders, all of them hopefully shall become true global citizens. So I'm now happy to say our Toronto Declaration is virtually adopted. Thank you, everyone. And now back to Dr. Maxwell.
Professor Hopkins, thank you so much for all your work in this area and your leadership and the role that you're playing at York and beyond in driving this exciting and very important initiative. It's now my great pleasure to introduce Professor Lisa Phillips to give the closing keynote. Professor Phillips is the Provost and Vice President Academic of York University, and prior to that, she was the Associate Vice President of Research at York. As Provost and Vice President Academic, she provides leadership to the senior academic administrative team in the areas of academic planning, institutional change management, the alignment of academic priorities and resources, and strategic enrollment and complement planning. It's an exciting time to be at York because current initiatives focus on meeting institutional priorities around academic quality, the student experience and student success, community engagement, and international and global engagement, as well as the increasing role of embedding the UN sustainability goals into the mission and academic plan of the university. For me, as a professor of technology entrepreneurship, York has a great opportunity and a great reputation for building on its research-intensive comprehensive university background to develop truly interdisciplinary curriculum bridging liberal arts, sciences, engineering, and professional programs. The opening of my home, the new Bergeron Center for Engineering Excellence, the launch of the campus-wide Strategic Entrepreneurship Council, the establishment of a Global Health Research Institute, as well as the creation of the new campus at Markham, which is focused on technology and entrepreneurship, are just a few examples of the opportunity that York continues to embrace. Professor Phillips.
Thank you so much, Andrew, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to say a few remarks. And I just want to start by thanking sincerely and recognizing all 700 participants in this event. It is remarkable that you are from 66 countries around the world, and we've actually managed to cover the full alphabet. I'll give you just a bit of a sampling of countries of origin for some of our participants include Afghanistan, Albania, Australia, Czech Republic, Denmark, Hong Kong, Latvia, India, Peru, Sri Lanka, the Russian Federation, Saudi Arabia, and Zimbabwe, to name just a few of those 66 countries. Our participants, our speakers, our partners came from 325 institutions around the world. Remarkable. We've had incredibly important conversations amongst policymakers, scholars, educators. 200 of the participants joined us from Canada, 77 from York University alone. Hello, colleagues, and thank you very much for all your participation. I'd also just like to make sure I take a moment to thank our conference strategic partners and organizers, including the International Association of Universities, the Canadian Commission for UNESCO, Okayama University, and the Academic Committee for their great efforts in pulling together a stellar program. And of course, I want to acknowledge the leadership of York International and our UNESCO chair in Reorienting Education Towards Sustainability, Professor Hopkins. Now, we have had wide-ranging conversations, very rich and full and robust conversations. I want to simply land on three overarching themes that we seem to have circled back to many, many times and that emerge from this incredible conversation. First of all, that we have an opportunity right now at this particular juncture in history, very unique juncture, to re-examine our policies and procedures at the institutional level through the lens of ethical, inclusive and sustainable internationalization. It's a moment to revisit. How are we thinking about internationalization? Secondly, there is a great desire to continue expanding mobility and intercultural learning opportunities. Despite our physical barriers right now, there is just as much interest and importance as ever in expanding those opportunities so that they are available and accessible to not just a privileged few, but also for a very wide, diverse population of learners. Finally, a third theme is that we need to reflect on international mobility as being as much about mobility of ideas and knowledge and experiences as about physical mobility. And this is going to be a focus of our efforts going forward. So I do want to just formally confirm that today, on January 22nd, 2021, York University is very pleased and proud to adopt and commit to the 2021 Toronto Declaration on the Future of Sustainable and Inclusive Internationalization in Higher Education. We view this as a living document. So it's great that there has been a discussion about the terms of that document during this conference. I don't think that's the end of adding to it, rethinking it, and continually revising it. It's a starting point that we hope will continue to evolve, both within our university and with our partners moving forward. So we're looking forward to working alongside all of you as we continue these efforts going forward. I'd like to just highlight that not so long ago, a few months ago, York University adopted a brand new 5-year university academic plan. And we put at the center of that global engagement, but also a university-wide challenge to elevate our contributions to the Sustainable Development Goals. So we are very much feeling that this declaration is right in tune with where we are as a university. So this event has given us a chance to convene in difficult circumstances. It's given us a sense of renewal and clear direction about our commitments so that we can take up our leadership roles as universities and related organizations to set a new course for action. I am so honored and so pleased that you were able to join us for this conference. We have an opportunity here to reshape the future of higher education globally through a lens of sustainability and inclusion and innovation. Thank you for being part of it. And I wish you very, very well for your next steps in implementing the declaration.
So Professor Phillips, thank you so much for your ongoing leadership in this area and support and encouragement and the remarks in your keynote. It's now my great pleasure to introduce my friend Vinitha Gengatharan, the Executive Director of York International, to share outlook and follow-ups after the conference. Vinitha.
Thank you, Andrew. And thank you, Lisa, for your leadership, especially in stewarding and shepherding the university academic plan and for including the Sustainable Development Goals as an overarching framework on how the university moves forward for a better future. So I think it's thanks to your leadership that this is happening across the university. So thank you very much. As already mentioned by my colleagues, the 2021 Toronto Declaration has been jointly crafted by the organizers, strategic partners, and participants of the Sustainable and Inclusive Internationalization Virtual Conference. Again, thank you for your engagement and contribution over the last 3 days. Professor Lisa Phillips has shared with you our university's commitment to the Declaration and to demonstrate our ongoing efforts to contribute to the UN Sustainable Development Goals as we move forward. On behalf of the conference partners, I would like to invite all of you to join this network of like-minded individuals and further push the boundaries of what we can do as scholars and practitioners to promote sustainability, inclusivity, and innovation in our education cooperation efforts, as well as student mobility programming. After the conference, we, along with our conference partners, will reach out to you to invite your commitment and participation, and this can be as individuals and/or as institutions. For us here at York, we're committed and we will be moving forward with our new UAP, as mentioned by Lisa, and we will be following up the Sustainable on the Go initiative with the following 3 commitments. Developing student sustainable travel literacy. So we're looking at developing 2 modules on sustainability for all York students going abroad. Our number 2 initiative is I Traveled Sustainability Campaign and looking at onsetting rather than offsetting our carbon footprint. And this is through volunteering to support projects addressing climate change and SDGs in host countries and communities where our students will be traveling to as part of their mobility experience. And third, knowledge mobilization efforts, including a conference publication based on the discussions that took place at our conference over the last 3 days, as well as an ongoing commitment to convening this distinguished group of colleagues who gathered here today on an annual basis, and to ensure that the Toronto Declaration continues to be a living and learning document that we continue to improve on. Again, my thanks to all of you for joining us today. We sincerely appreciate your time and engagement, especially for those of you who are joining us from Asia. I know that it's well past midnight right now, so Asia and other parts of the world where it's well past midnight, your engagement in this conference has been much appreciated. Stay well, be well, stay safe, and look forward to meeting all of you in person. I'm going to turn it over to Andrew to close out the conference.
Vinitha, thank you for this, for your ongoing thoughts, leaderships, encouragements, insights, and vision of how we might turn these ideas into action. It's great to be involved with York International and York and the broader community that's participating. At this point, I would like to thank everybody that's been involved in this contribution: speakers, chairs, volunteers, participants, the academic committee and the organizers, York International, and specifically the UNESCO chair in Reorienting Education Towards Sustainability, for the 3-day conference full of insights and information for us to move forward and contribute. I'd like to suggest 3 ways that you might follow up from this conference, some of which have already been suggested. First of all, everyone needs to think about how they can continue to engage with the SDGs, and specifically perhaps stay in touch with York about how you might move things forward and collaborate and share ideas. After the conference, the organizers will follow up with a summary of the proceedings, and they'll be also posted on the conference page. The conference venue will actually remain open until 12:30, so participants are welcome to stay, chat, and network until it closes. I'd like to wish everyone a wonderful day, a wonderful evening if you're in Asia. I hope that 2021 is a very successful and happy new year for us going forward. Thank you for joining us.
We are inviting our partners and academic community members, our team, to please join us to say goodbye and thank you to all of our partners, participants, and audience around the world. Please come and join us. You know who you are. There's a reason for a successful conference. There are people behind it.
Katrine, oh, there she is.
Pablo, I see you there. Oh, okay. And there's a few people I haven't met. We have colleagues here from Okayama and from perhaps from
Canadian Commission.
okay.
Canadian Commission of UNESCO.
So thanks for collaborating with us.
Giorgio Marinoni is the manager international at IAU, and Isabelle Thoman is working on everything related to HESD, Higher Education Research and Sustainable Development.
Well, thank you for putting your resources behind this effort. All the feedback has been wonderful. And Hani, which organization are you with? Hani El Masri. Hi, we haven't met. I'm Lisa from York University.
I'm at York International, actually.
Oh, yes, of course. Hani. Hi, we haven't seen each other for almost a year. Well, it's been a very successful effort.
We're missing our student committee member, Humaira, from our IDS program, and Ravi Da Costa,
Okay.
yeah, from the academic committee. But otherwise, the IAU colleagues, Okayama colleagues, and CC UNESCO colleagues are with us.
Well, brilliant job, everybody. I'm sure
It's a pleasure to be together in this space, and very nice to hear there are already 3 follow-up steps, so that's great. And we know each other for a long time in many different positions, so that's very nice as well to see that we get together here in this setting, and to engage in a future of construction, co-construction, rethinking, rebuilding. I was wondering, if I may, Lisa Phillips, you said you had adopted a 5-year academic plan at York last year. Do you think that plan will need to be revisited post-COVID, or is it valid into the future? Since we're waiting, maybe you want to say something about that.
Yeah, it was quite a challenge because we were in the middle of the consultations and the collective drafting exercise when the pandemic hit. So we actually did find that we ended up doing some late in the day revisions to really capture the moment in terms of not just the pandemic, but all the global social movements that were starting around anti-Black racism, and some of the realization of how unequal the impact of the pandemic has been. And so it did ultimately inform the drafting, but we felt that actually the whole focus around sustainable development goals for sure had only been accentuated. So like many of these documents, it provides some very high level goals under which to organize our activities. So we were able to kind of tune it up a little bit towards the end to heighten the feeling of relevance. But I think with the pace of change, I don't know what you're all finding, but with the pace of change, it's like all of our strategies need to be revisited, practically all the time.
All the time. But it would be wonderful. I don't know if it's possible to share or if it's easy to find on York's website. But otherwise, at the IU, we would be very much interested, because we look at strategic developments of university. We follow trends around the globe. And so to have that as an example, we may bring you in if interested, together with Atsufumi from Okayama, to discuss future leadership positions on where to go in one of the IAU webinars on the future of higher education. And Charles has spoken at one together with Catherine as well, and that those contributions make the difference in rethinking, connecting the knowledge systems, etc. So that may be a nice next opportunity.
Oh, we'd be more than delighted and indeed honored, of course, and we'll be happy to share the plan with you. Anything that we can do to be part of a bigger conversation about where higher education is going is very, very welcome. Yes. So thank you for that suggestion, for your interest. Much appreciated.
We will have to come up with follow-up. No, I think this is only the start of much more.
Yes.
Can you see me, guys?
We can.
I'm joining you on the phone.
Yeah.
Somehow it crashed.
Oh dear, this is part of life now.
Thank you, Hillage. We will definitely follow up with you on that opportunity. I think it's a great opportunity, Lisa, for you and Charles and others to connect on this, and with Vice President at Zafumi, who's also shaping their university's academic plan. So, yeah.
I think the idea of including university
Pablo, thank you
professors.
again for all your contributions on the academic committee. Did you wish to say anything?
Are you taking the picture, Helen? I think it would be nice, no, to have one as a souvenir.
Can I ask somebody? Can I ask somebody else because I'm using my phone? Rose, can you do it, or Katrine? Thank you.
We can't hear you, Catherine.
Everybody, wear your smile.
I can take it. So everybody,
Thanks,
smile.
Vinitha.
1, 2, 3. There we go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, the platform appears to be unstable, right?
I think we overused it. Too much conversation.
Too many conversation and threads, but it's
Yeah.
all good. We have engaged many participants around the world, so thanks again. I think they're very appreciative that we gave them a platform to discuss this, even though they're not in Canada or not in the Western Hemisphere. They're very appreciative of it. We can see the chats and their comments.
Definitely. Very nice.
And Lisa, we were talking about earlier, and you probably heard from Charles as well, that we were able to engage participants that would otherwise not participate in these conferences, and also draw more people from the Global South, or as deemed Global South. And so,
That is so interesting. That is really, what a learning for all of us.
Yeah.
That's great. Excellent. We're going to have to figure out, even when we're getting together in person again, how we're going to maintain a kind of a hybrid capacity so that people who can't get there in person, can't get a visa, can't afford it, whatever, for whatever reason, still be part of at least some of the sessions.
I think there's hope for making use of the technology. Once they get used to this.
is there anyone else that wishes to say anything before we close?
Just a big thank you for all of you to organize, this virtual conference.
Isabel?
And I was just saying thank you. Thank you for organizing this. And I think one of the lessons learned that I learned from the panelists is that a hybrid model, I think, is a solution going forward for a lot of us. So it's great to experiment right now and to see how we can be more inclusive and engage people around the globe in these conversations. So thank you.
Yeah.
Really nice. Yeah.
And a big thanks to Weston. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mary Rose. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, team. Well, thank you very
Cool.
much, everybody. Thank you, Lisa, for joining us. And thank you to all our partners.
Lovely to meet you all.
Hi.
We'll do a debrief of the academic committee in the next week or so. We'll schedule a time for all of us to get together to debrief the conference and our next steps.
Great. I look forward to hearing about that.
And Wesson, special thank you to Wesson Rawazik, who was one of our conference organizers, and she started with us late November, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And I just want to share with everyone that Wesson will be leaving us at the end of day today because she has a new role as the college principal and director of the Ryerson International College. And so she starts Monday in that role. So we're very sorry to see her go, but it's a great opportunity. Wesson just is Canadian and was in the Middle East for a very long time and had just moved back to Canada in August and joined us for this conference. So congratulations, Wesson.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you, Wesson, for all of your work. We really appreciate you. And we are so happy for you.
Thank you. I really, really enjoyed working with everyone. It's been an immense honor and pleasure to work on this project. So thank you.
We're lucky to have grabbed you just before you got very busy.
Great.
All right, everyone, I'm going to sign off.
Okay.
Wishing you all well. And thanks
Have a
again.
nice weekend, and
Be well.
Bye bye. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you so much.
you.